Connecticut's Dan Hurley turned down the Los Angeles Lakers' 6-year, $70 million offer.
The fact that he's got a team returning at UConn that can do something that hasn't been done since John Wooden's UCLA teams. In the end, I think that was as big of a factor as any.
I know my last two videos were on the Los Angeles Lakers. I know we're in the middle of the NBA Finals and that Caitlin Clark is for some reason being excluded from the USA basketball team. We have a lot of content cooking up for you guys, but this is one topic that I as a Laker fan have been so consumed by because I felt like there's no hope for this franchise unless they could seal the deal on a blue chip head coach. And once again, in typical Buzz family fashion, they fumbled the bag. So we're gonna bring you this huge update, bro. The story is insane. Before we get to the content, we are 70,000 subscribers away from 1 million subscribers. I'm taking suggestions as to what we should give away to celebrate 1 million subscribers. Gift giving isn't really one of my love languages, so forgive me. I might need some help with that. Now that we get all that out of the way, do the intro. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? Has there been any more drama around a head coaching position more than the Los Angeles Lakers? I don't think so. But there's something you need to understand before we even get into this topic. This is something I mentioned when Frank Vogel was fired a few years ago. The Los Angeles Lakers head coaching position isn't a coveted position at all whatsoever. You're playing in a large market with a fan base that's so passionate that they weren't even willing to accept LeBron James as their brand new franchise cornerstone. Remember when LeBron James first signed in Los Angeles and Los Angeles Laker fans were graffitiing over every mural that LeBron James had in Los Angeles? Laker fans didn't want to accept him as their own. That's how insane Los Angeles Laker fans can be. This fan base expects their team to be in the mix for the NBA Finals each and every year, even though from the period of 2014 to 2018, this team was in the cellar. It doesn't matter if you're coaching the Los Angeles Lakers and they have Anthony Davis and LeBron James, the expectations are for you to win. Even though the Western Conference has never been more stacked. With the emergence of the Dallas Mavericks who made it to the NBA Finals this year, the Phoenix Suns who are running some sort of crazy wild science experiment that is doomed to fail, but still, they're at the bottom of the Western Conference. You have the Denver Nuggets who are one of the deepest teams in the West and the NBA champions from last year. The Minnesota Timberwolves and the OKC Thunder took the next step this past year. The Houston Rockets ended their season on a winning streak. The Memphis Grizzlies were injured this past year, so surely they're going to be better once John Morant returns. And the Spurs have Victor Wembanyama. And who knows, maybe the New Orleans Pelicans swing a trade and finally get Zion the help he needs. The point being that the Western Conference is incredibly competitive. And that's why my take hasn't changed on the situation. And ironically, JJ Redick said the same thing 2 years ago.
Sure, this is the time that you want to take this Lakers job. Until they start building their team like every other team in the NBA does in modern NBA, I don't think this is a good job. Why do we think that?
And unfortunately, that old JJ Redick take still holds up today. The Los Angeles Lakers have never been more healthy than this past year. They brought back their depth pieces from a year ago, and we're hoping that one more year of familiarity would be enough to make a push in the playoffs. And despite LeBron James and Anthony Davis being the healthiest they've ever been, the Los Angeles Lakers were a play-in team, and they were also a first-round exit. They almost got swept in the first round. And don't get me wrong, they got very, very close, but there was one thing that was very evident. The right head coach would have made all the difference in a series versus the Denver Nuggets, and Anthony Davis even mentioned it here.
We have stretches where we just don't know what we're doing on both ends of the floor, and those are the ones that cost us.
With that being said, I've mentioned it multiple times in my previous videos on the Lakers. Donovan Mitchell or Trae Young isn't going to be enough to compete in the Western Conference. The era of constructing a big three and then having veteran minimum contracts as your depth pieces and hoping to make it to the NBA Finals is an outdated philosophy, and to be honest, even towards the tail end of the Miami Heat era, it was an outdated philosophy. Golden State Warriors were able to pull it off in 2017 when they signed Kevin Durant, but that's That's because the salary cap boomed and they had enough cap space to bring on Kevin Durant. It was an anomaly that you can't really expect again, and the Warriors had a tremendous amount of depth on top of that. But the only thing that I believe that could have saved the Los Angeles Lakers was a blue chip head coach. A head coach that could evolve NBA offenses, and believe it or not, that's who they were targeting all along. Originally, we thought that the Los Angeles Lakers were targeting JJ Redick. Hell, Crispy Haynes said that the Los Angeles Lakers are trying to keep it a secret, but they're doing a horrible job at doing so.
Are the Lakers waiting to announce their head coach until the finals are over? Because that coach might be working the final?
Yeah, I would be very surprised if their next head coach is anybody but JJ Redick. Everything that I'm hearing is JJ Redick.
I mean, people thought that JJ Redick had already put his staff together.
From what I know, he's doing some background, calling some candidates, some assistant coaching candidates who might be able to join his staff or might not be able to join his staff. And so, I'm pretty positive it'll be JJ.
And hell, even Brian Windhorst, who knows all things to do with LeBron James, admitted that the Lakers aren't doing a good job of hiding their hand.
Attempt. Maybe I'm giving away my feelings by saying attempt. There's a very strong message coming out that the Lakers are still early in their process, that there's still steps to be done, and that they're being very thorough, and there's nothing to see here, and don't worry about that.
Probably gonna have to wait till after the finals.
Probably. And then there is information out there otherwise involving JJ Redick. I will just sit here and I will tell you that my information on this is scattered. I have some people saying this is JJ Redick's job that I trust, and I have some people saying that this is a process that is not complete. I suspect I know something, but I am just going to tell you that there's multiple streams of information.
And then we got Shams confirming everything, that the Lakers are truly targeting JJ Redick, and all of that was blown up when Adrian Wojnarowski told the world that Shams is wrong. The Lakers' top target is Dan Hurley of UConn.
Been the Lakers' target from the very beginning of this search. They have talked to other candidates. They have done their due diligence because they aren't sure they can get Dan Hurley, but he has been their target. He continues to be their target. And now talks have some traction. Dan Hurley, they've had some preliminary contact with Hurley. They have talked, and they are going to talk more, and they're going to do so imminently.
And that the Los Angeles Lakers were going to meet with Dan Hurley on Friday.
I'm told, Scott, he is traveling out to California. He's going to meet with Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss, their owner, tomorrow. And this is going to move quickly. There's certainly traction on a deal with the Lakers, but Dan Hurley has not made a decision yet.
Now, the interesting thing about this is the fact that JJ Redick even had a podcast with Dan Hurley, which Dan Patrick roasted him for, saying that JJ Redick lost the Lakers job with this podcast.
I think the inspiration the last 2 years, especially this year, is like watching college football now, or Shanahan from the NFL. It's actions that's just layered on top of each other, and we just try to disguise it with the formations.
But this podcast interview really got my attention because the Los Angeles Lakers need some form of offense that is similar to what the Denver Nuggets run, that would take less pressure off of LeBron James and Anthony Davis, that could get their role players involved whenever LeBron James or Anthony Davis decides to check out. And this is the one reason why I wanted Dan Hurley to coach the Lakers so badly. This is the play that we're discussing, and an example of why Dan Hurley's offense would be so incredible. It's a play that's disguised as another play called the horn skip flip, and obviously Hurley's offense is going to be more than just one play, but it's just an example of what he could bring to the NBA. Would it translate in the NBA? Most definitely. It's not just the one play that we want, it's the fact that he is capable of crafting these disguised plays. It's very reminiscent of what Sean McVay and Kyle Shanahan do in the NFL, where NFL offenses would fake motion and would have defenses guessing whether or not the quarterback was about to fake a handoff to the wide receiver, hand it off to the wide receiver for a jet sweep, or hand it off to the running back. But defenses are also focused on the wide receiver potentially running a jet sweep. This type of confusion could be brought to the NBA, and it's what I believed could have saved the Los Angeles Lakers. So all eyes were on the Los Angeles Lakers on Friday. This wasn't about a college head coach coming in to try to develop players. This was about a head coach that could, one, develop players, and an offensive scheme that could have potentially revolutionized revolutionize the NBA. At the very minimum, you have a basketball mind that LeBron James respects. So the Los Angeles Lakers would meet with Dan Hurley on Friday, and to be honest, if you just looked at the situation, there was no way the Lakers could fumble this. I mean, bringing in a blue chip head coach to be your version of Brad Stevens for the Los Angeles Lakers, it worked wonderfully for the Boston Celtics. The coach would get to coach LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and on top of that, Dan Hurley already won back-to-back championships at UConn, and the landscape of college basketball is about to change significantly. College basketball players are eligible for more than just NIL deals now. They can straight up get paid by the school. Amateurism is dead, and while I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, you have to admit that changes the landscape a little bit for these coaches. It's like changing the algorithm for success in college basketball. So Dan Hurley clearly has to be looking at this situation saying,
look, I won back-to-back championships at UConn. I might as well sell at the peak of my value and go to the NBA.
This is the best scenario for me to do so. LeBron James even said that the Los Angeles Lakers should hire a head coach that will still be their head coach even once LeBron James retires. They should focus a coach that is capable of working with LeBron James, which LeBron did approve of Dan Hurley, by the way, but could even be the Lakers head coach once the LeBron era is over, kind of like what Eric Spoelstra was for the Miami Heat. So the situation was perfect. Dan Hurley clearly has to feel pressure about the changing landscape in college basketball. It's the perfect opportunity to go to the NBA. There's no way the Lakers screw this up, right? Well, after their meeting on Friday, there wasn't a press conference announced for the Los Angeles Lakers and Dan Hurley. But on Monday morning, Brian Windhorst would say this.
Well, the Lakers are on edge about this because they've thrown Dan Hurley the bouquet, so to speak, because they've given him presumably the largest coaching contract offer in the history of the franchise. They brought him out to give their vision, and he's been home for several days with no offer. Meanwhile, other candidates that they're interested in are, moving on elsewhere. So James Borrego, who they interviewed about 10 days ago, he's getting momentum in Cleveland. He's expected to interview there early this week as a potential leading candidate developing with the Cavs. And their situation is that they have so prioritized Dan Hurley that they've let other potential candidates, go off the board elsewhere. It took them a while to get Dan Hurley interested enough to seriously engage with them. They got that engagement, and now they've got to hope that they were able to close it.
Then on Monday morning, we found out that according to Adrian Wojnarowski, Connecticut's Dan Hurley has turned down the Los Angeles Lakers' 6-year, $70 million offer and will return to chase a third straight national title. LA would have made him one of the NBA's 6 highest paid coaches. Now, obviously, this really pissed me off. I mean, we're going to get to it in a sec, but the contingency plan's even more depressing. I mean, it says after a dogged pursuit of Hurley over the past weeks, the Lakers will regroup and resume bringing in candidates for interviews with hope of hiring a coach by draft. James Borrego is expected to remain part of the group, and the Lakers could do their first formal interview with JJ Redick. The interesting thing is Shams already said that the Lakers did interview JJ Redick, but that's besides the point. Now, I know 6 years and $70 million is a lot of money. I mean, obviously, if you're in Los Angeles, Uncle Sam takes a huge chunk of that. The state income tax in Los Angeles is significantly more than the state income tax in Connecticut. When you take a look at this offer, some Laker fans are speculating that this was a bit of a lowball offer. To give you an idea, the top 3 highest paid head coaches deserve to be the highest paid head coaches. I mean, number 1 is Steve Kerr at $17.5 million a year annually. Then it's Greg Popovich at $16 million a year annually. Then it's Eric Spoelstra at $15 million annually. All respected head coaches with championships that have all the job security in the world. No one is ever going to fire one of these top 3 head coaches. No team is ever going to point the blame finger at them. But then you go to the next 3, and these are coaches that have had success in the past and jumped ship to brand new teams. And number 4, you have Monty Williams getting paid $13 million a year annually, and then there's a huge jump down to Mike Budenholzer with the Phoenix Suns at $10 million annually. Then you have Mike Brown, who recently signed his contract extension with the Sacramento Kings. So pretty much the Lakers offered more than what Coach Bud would get, but less than what Monty Williams is currently getting. When you consider the fact that Monty Williams is the head coach of the worst team in the NBA, NBA, that is saying something. But also you have to bear in mind, Arizona has a flat income tax rate of 2.5%. When you compare that to Los Angeles, where the state income tax is 12.3%, and you compare that to Connecticut, where it could go from 3% to 6.99%, you're pretty much asking this man to take a huge risk and not that much more paid to take that risk. Yes, you get to live in Los Angeles where it's nice and sunny with plenty of homeless people, but when you compare this contract to other head coaches, I think the Lakers should have offered exactly what Monty Williams got, maybe a little bit more than what Monty Williams got. Just bump up that number to $80 million, and I bet you that the Los Angeles Lakers would have gotten Dan Hurley. And this is just my own personal theory. It is such a catastrophic fumble by the Los Angeles organization because this one move could have changed everything for the Lakers. It's pretty much the only move that made me optimistic as a Laker fan at all whatsoever. You can't name a single head coach that'll get me excited now. It's not going to be James Borrego. It's not going to be JJ Redick. The Lakers are going to continue to be a meme. And I hate to say it, but I don't really see it in any other way. It's really frustrating, but at least you're not going to hear an update on the Los Angeles Lakers from me for quite some time, maybe another week or so until they do find their head coach. But man, this could have been the coach that changed everything for us. Yes, it had a lot of boom or bust potential, but I truly believe that Dan Hurley could have been the difference maker for the Lakers. The offense that he could have brought over to the Lakers would have changed everything. But instead, he decided to return to UConn, where he's getting paid a 6-year, $50 million contract, which is not as much as the Lakers would have offered him, and it still is kind of a risk, but it's not that much less either, and he's already respected there. UConn actually trolled the entire world once this news came out, saying that update, our 2 p.m. practice is underway. If you're a Laker fan, let me know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about this fumble? Do you think it's because of the money? Do you think it's because of other reasons? Do you think it's because coaching LeBron James is very intimidating and the chances of your success are very slim? I'd like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.